Every country has a rulebook, a constitution. But what happens when that rulebook is designed with, well, a built-in paradox? Today, we're going to deconstruct one of the world's most unique national blueprints, the 2008 Constitution of Myanmar.
You know, to really get this document, you first have to understand the century of pure turmoil that created it. I mean, look at this journey. Myanmar's path from colonial rule through independence and all these different political systems, it has been anything but stable. So this 2008 Constitution, it wasn't written in a vacuum. It was forged to try and bring some kind of order to all of this history.
All right, so what's the very first thing this Constitution does? It defines the nation itself. It lays out a set of core principles that become the foundation for absolutely everything else.
Right off the bat, the first few articles establish the state's identity as a union of many national races. But here's the thing, it immediately lays down a critical, non-negotiable rule. No part of this union can ever secede. Now, for a nation with such a long history of ethnic conflict, this isn't just a statement, it's a core command, and you're going to see it pop up again and again.
And this brings us to what are basically the state's three supreme objectives. Article 6 lists a bunch of goals, but these first three, non-disintegration of the Union, national solidarity, and perpetuating sovereignty, these are enshrined as the absolute top priorities. The Constitution is basically saying, look, holding the country together is job number one, and that idea guides everything else.
So, with those core principles locked in, how is power actually structured? Well, the Constitution sets up a familiar-looking three-branch system, but as we're about to see, the balance between them is, well, it's anything but conventional.
Okay, so Article 11 sets up that classic three-branch system we all know: legislative, executive, and judicial. And the whole point, just like in many republics around the world, is to create checks and balances so no single group gets too powerful. Seems pretty standard, right?
But then you look at the legislative branch, and you start to see this careful balancing act. It's a two-house system, and it's designed to represent people in two totally different ways. You got one house based on population. Pretty simple. More people, more reps. But the other house gives every single state and region the exact same number of seats. This makes sure that smaller ethnic states have just as much of a voice as the larger regions.
And this leads us to what is, without a doubt, the most defining and controversial feature of this whole Constitution: the power and the role that is explicitly, in writing, granted to the military, what's known as the Defense Services, or Tatmadaw.
Just read that. This is a direct quote, and it is stunningly clear. The Constitution itself says that the military must participate in the national political leadership. This isn't some implied power or a loophole. It is a core stated objective of the state, something you just don't really see in other democratic frameworks.
And Article 20 takes it even further. It's not just about national defense. It officially names the military as the primary guardian of those big three objectives we talked about earlier: unity, solidarity, and sovereignty. The military isn't just an army here. It's positioned as the ultimate protector of the Constitution itself. In this political role, it's not just a theoretical idea. The Constitution guarantees the military seats, actual seats, in all levels of the legislature. And they're filled by people chosen directly by the commander-in-chief. This gives them a direct hand in making the laws. And here it is, the ultimate expression of that power. Article 40C is an emergency clause. It gives the commander-in-chief the right to take over all state power if he decides there's a crisis that threatens the disintegration of the Union. This effectively creates a constitutional path for a military takeover. Okay, so we've talked about the high-level power stuff, but how does this Constitution actually shape daily life for the average citizen? Well, this final pillar gets into the relationship between the state, the people, and the economy.
So the document does guarantee citizens fundamental rights, equality, freedom of religion, but, and this is a big but, these rights are balanced against duties, like the responsibility to uphold public peace and order. It creates this tension, right, where individual freedoms can be limited if the state decides it's for the sake of collective stability.
The state also takes on some big responsibilities for social welfare. It specifically commits to improving public education and health for everyone. It even mandates a free and compulsory primary education system, which is a huge commitment.
Now, on the economic front, we see another one of these fascinating hybrids. Article 35 officially sets up a market economy, but
Then you read Article 37, and it says the state is the ultimate owner of all land and natural resources. So it creates this fundamental push and pull between private business and ultimate state control.
So you might be wondering, why would anyone invest in a system like that? Well, they thought of that. To make the market system work, the Constitution offers some very specific protections for businesses. It promises private companies won't be nationalized, and your money won't be suddenly canceled. These are clear signals meant to build investor confidence.
So if we just take a step back and look at the whole thing, a really clear picture emerges, doesn't it? This is a blueprint for a hybrid state. It's one that sets up a multi-party democracy with a separation of powers, while at the exact same time, it weaves the military into the very fabric of political leadership, making them its constitutional guardian.
And that leaves us with one final thought, a question for you to chew on. When a nation's foundational document is written like this, with such specific and unique instructions for how power works, how does that design end up shaping the real-world story of a country for decades to come?